want a garden so I can grow, and you can only go so far on your own.
So we got chickens probably about 15 or more years ago, and we did the whole typical, put them in a house, and we lost chickens like everybody else, and it can be a bit soul destroying when you've put all this time and effort in, and you know, without vindicating Mr. Fox, he's just doing his thing naturally. Gav sat and thought, and with permaculture, you know, observe and interact is one of, you know, the biggest principles we probably use here. And he sat and he watched and he looked at the chicken and observing what a chicken actually needs. And so chickens, you know, are jungle fowl, and all they actually require is a forest floor and a tree. And so this is where the tree cone got created from, because we had a chicken that quite a few times, didn't she, come the end of the day, would find the nearest tree and just go sleep in it for the night. So
yeah, but that was the one that actually survived the
yeah.
fox. And occasionally there was chickens that would actually roost on the chicken shed roof, you know, on the ridge, and it was just shouting to me, you know, an elevated roost is something that not just that they want, but they actually feel safer up high. And so it just came down to a way that they can actually access a raised roost. So obviously the chicken cone is more or less an umbrella of sorts. It's to shelter them from the wind and the rain, but it's how does the chicken actually get up there? Well, although the chickens have come from jungle fowl, and you know, they're part of the pheasant family, these chickens have been selectively bred, and they're a lot heavier than you know, their counterparts, and so you know, expecting them to fly up into, you know, a raised roost was just not going to happen. And so a type of ladder had to be created, something that you know, that these big chickens, you know, they have actually got very powerful legs, and so they can actually jump from rung to rung. And so I did some testing to see what a chicken's ability was, and basically we constructed the cone and then started to trial different ladder systems, and this is the one that they preferred. And so if we were here at dusk, you would see, a bit like Heathrow, you know, suddenly the chickens would all line up and it would get very busy accessing that ladder, and they'd all make their way up, you know, clucking as they go. They get up into the cone, you know, working out who's in charge, who gets the best perches and things like that. And by dawn, they kind of glide down, if I can call it gliding. It's more or less falling with style, you know, because they're pretty big, but they do manage to fly down. The ones that you know, there is a few that decide to come back down the ladder, but most of them just go for the descent, as it were.
Chickens use the light quite a lot, so they'll get up when the sun rises and they'll go to bed when the sun sets. So 5 o'clock this evening, maybe 6 o'clock, our chickens can be quite lazy. They will start to jump from rung to rung, which effectively are the branches of a tree, and they'll get to the top and they'll turn around and they will jump up into the cone, and there are roosting bars up there that they will just sit all through the night and sleep. There is no floor to the chicken cone, so through the night they will poo, and all of their poo falls to the floor, which takes another job away for cleaning out. I never have to clean out a chicken house, so I don't have to put my chickens to bed, I don't have to get my chickens up, and I don't have to clean them out.
But the chicken poo used to rot the floor as well in the old house, and because we had quite a lot of chickens, it was actually a shed that you actually had to get in and clean the floor. And it was awful, to be honest, even after a few days, the smell. And so, you know, we know the chickens don't like that smell either, you know, the ammonia coming off. And so this design not only is that it doesn't need cleaning out, but it actually preserves the structure. To date, we haven't lost we haven't lost any chickens to any of the predators.
We've never lost a chicken since using our cones. So
Yeah.
we've had the cone for probably about 10 years now.
Another positive is that we've not wasted any of the floor space, because typically a shed on the floor kind of encourages rodents and things under there, and it actually wastes the space. Having it elevated, they can still forage on the ground, but equally there's a shadow, and if it rained right now, I know where they'll all go. They'll all go underneath that big cone and use it as an umbrella. So it's
Also, when it rains, a chicken can, so these chickens are golden buff Orpingtons.
they're big birds.
And so they're dual purpose, and they lay a good amount of eggs through their lifetime, but chickens can go down to about -15, which is quite a feat really. And so they can handle the cold, and they can handle getting wet. Their feathers are incredible for that. But what chickens can't handle is getting cold and wet at the same time. And what we tend to do is then put them away at night in these houses, and we create a domino effect then of problems with pests and illnesses. And so with the cone, it's got no floor, it's just got its like tree canopy. The chicken can dry out after a damp, miserable, wet day. So we don't get blooms of pest problems with the cone, which is a great benefit. And they maintain themselves. They're beautifully well-conditioned birds. Our animal husbandry here has inclusion, so we try not to separate our animals. Obviously, our beautiful Morgana pig here has just given birth, so we give her her time and space with her piglets, but eventually they will go back into the main run. And these two beautiful girls here, my golden Guernseys, are milking at the moment, and my milking stand is behind us, so they tend to stay in this pen. But on the whole, our animals all live together, pigs, chickens and goats, as you'll see in the main run. And what comes with that is the chickens keep the goats and the pigs incredibly clean by sitting on them and picking off any pests. The chickens will eat the pig poo, which means less manure on the floor building up and becoming problems in winter, wet winters.
The reason that the European robin follows the gardener around is actually because of the wild boar. And it was basically the disturbance of the wild boar in the European forest which led the robin to begin to follow eventually us around. So in a way that the gardener has replaced the wild boar. That gave me an idea that the pigs and chickens would probably do well together, meaning that pigs are going to disturb exactly as the robin likes to try and exploit. And instead of obviously the robin still accesses and uses our pigs in the same manner, but the chickens can actually be fed by that as well. Basically, a pig wants to root around. We've created a compost pile that they're walking on, and not only does that obviously provide us eventually some of the finest compost that can be made, because it's a very well balanced mix, we say, but it's full of compost worms, it's full of loads of insects, it's full of loads of invertebrates. There's all sorts of organisms in there that basically the chickens want to get at, but the pig provides them that way. So the pig eventually, when it gets hungry enough, it will start rooting around in all this compost, and the chicken's basically just moving in, picking up all the bits that the pig can't see. And so it's that type of symbiotic relationship where they're better together than alone. Also, I haven't got to have all these separate pens and have all these separate water systems that I've got to use. They've got single water systems, and all their food is mostly natural based, as in it's either coming from cuttings in the garden, fruits and vegetables. What comes in the mulch from the community equally contributes to them. And it's that they end up eating all of the greenery, all the leaf stuff, and what is left behind is the woody materials. And it's that keeps their feet dry. So during the winter period, that this is actually not a clay quagmire of kind of pig poo and wee, but it actually is a dry floor, because pigs don't want to be in all of that during the winter period. They want the kind of access to wet compost, wet soils in the summer period, but in the winter time they actually want it dry. And you don't want all of that bacteria, like trench foot. It ends up leading to all sorts of animal problems if the animals are walking around in their own wee and poo essentially. And so by feeding them natural foods as we are, this mulch, it's like the same as a forest floor, is actually looking after the animal, but equally it's feeding them as well.
To complement the chicken cone, obviously our chickens are quite safe at night, but through the day the pigs act as a type of security guard for the chickens, so no fox is going to be coming anywhere near to cause any kind of threat. So it's a really good friendship. All of them work very well together. They eat very similar types of food as well. We try and feed them all as naturally as possible. We're not void of buying in some bagged food as supplement, but we try and grow as much as we can to feed the animals along with our mulch service. Yeah.
Well, it's actually potatoes, because we were looking for a way to feed these animals on site or locally. A lot of the bag the bag food that you can buy is obviously from, grown probably not in a great way, and it's imported from very long distances. And so just as we're trying to feed ourselves, we're actually trying to do the same for the animals. And so although we've got plentiful potatoes on the site and we've got a good way of growing them in a simple way, we really needed something to balance it out for the omnivores, the chickens and the pigs. And so I was looking at all the nutritional values of various plants in the garden, and I came across the stinger nettle eventually, and I looked at the nutrition values of the stinger nettle, and I was absolutely astounded of its protein levels. It's also really high in calcium, it's also high in iron and various other nutrients and minerals, and it's what we decided to mix with the potatoes as a balanced meal for chickens and pigs. So basically we cook up potatoes, we mash them up, and then the stinger nettles from the previous year, which we've dried and stored just like hay, we will add that to the mash, mix it in, and the chickens and pigs would absolutely waffle that down. But if you try and separate those foods, they simply won't eat it. The chickens and pigs will refuse to eat the stinger nettles. So like children, where you're trying to get them to eat the salads and have a balanced diet, you've got to find a way of
disguise it.
What there needs to be, what's the word? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, and it turns out that medicine is actually the potato. And so it's great that we've got, stinger nettles are not even a crop that I actually have to grow. They're just on the periphery, and so we can cut them as hay and store them for the winter period.
We have all the animals here, and every animal is designed into our lifestyle here. And whether that gives us eggs or meat or milk or manure, to be able to have those products, I need to be able to offer the best life possible for that animal. And so I need to be able to know what these animals have eaten. I need to know the life that they've had. And that's the most important thing for us, is to know that these animals have had the best life that we can possibly offer them.
But also in reverse as well, actually, that we're better off having them here. There's a reason why the animals are so close to the house, is actually we actually wanted to be near them. We actually find it incredibly satisfying to come out here and interact with them, to feed them and care for them. In the winter time, we spend our evenings out here drinking kombucha, and and we sit with the pigs, and the goats. I mean, the chickens have gone to bed at that time, obviously, but the pigs and the goats are, incredibly friendly, and I guess there's a kind of a social dependency occurred, like you can see here, that they've actually got used to the care, and it's just incredibly satisfying to
She's quite demanding.
She's putting her head up my shirt.
Yeah. But you can see why the mulchers, the local community, want to be able to come down here and interact with the animals and feed them, and know that their gardens have produced potentially food for our girls and boys.
The mulchers equally want to see us interacting with the site, because it's incredibly novel. You'd normally have to get on a plane and go and find this somewhere out of the UK, and then everyone would be speaking probably a different language. And we're down here on the Isle of Wight, and it's just so novel, I guess, to live this way in this day and age. And it's not something that we necessarily cooked up, as it were. It just found us. We basically just kept doing more of what we thought was lovely. What we felt was right. And it just, that's the magic, that's the thing that's so wonderful, to sort of be led that way, you know. It's dynamic intervention perhaps.